Let's take it from the top.
This is the Lowdown Sports Show.
Give me the lowdown.
With Drew.
I just heard your dad might already hate you, and I was like,
Yeah.
what, brother? Oh, man.
And BJ.
Yeah, he could be part of the mascot's entourage and be throwing T-shirts into the crowd.
And it all starts right now.
All right, welcome into another episode of the Lowdown Sports Show. I'm your host, Drew.
I'm BJ.
And we're here to get the lowdown on all things basketball. Going around the association today. But before we go around the association, we want to make sure we show some love to our partners, TeePublic, Fanatics, and SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. And not only with sports, you can get concerts and other things like that. Use code THELOWDOWN in all caps and take $20 off your first order. And BJ, I won't mess this up this time. This show is presented by StatHead.
And it is Drew, and it's time for our stat of the episode. Well, tonight you've got on the hoop side of things, on the court, you've got a WNBA matchup between the Lynx and the Wings, one final time this year, their fourth and final matchup. And Napheesa Collier is coming off her best ever game by game score against the Wings in her career, going back to the 2019 season. Her previous best was in that 2019 season when she tallied up 19 points and a game score of 20.6 against the Wings in a winning effort. Well, did that and then some on just Tuesday, in fact, with a 29-point performance, which is a career high against the Wings, and a game score of 25.8 against Dallas in their 91-86 win at home. So Napheesa Collier has her best ever game score this season, but also two of her four worst in her career against the Wings this season. So it's been real boom or bust for Collier against the Wings here in this 2023 season, Drew. This is the stat of the episode. Which one are we going to see tonight? Which Napheesa Collier is going to show up for the Lynx against the Wings is the question.
Thank you, Mr. BJ, for another wonderful stat of the episode.
Thank you.
WNBA. Let's get it. And as I said earlier, ladies and gents, we are going around the association, and this is the 27th time we are doing so. And lots to talk about. We meant to slide in a bonus episode, but things got complicated. I got tossed in to do an extra football game over the weekend, and we just didn't get to do the things that we wanted to do. That's just how things go.
It's just the way it goes sometimes.
That is just how it is. So we got a jam-packed episode, a whole lot of NBA stuff, quite a bit of WNBA stuff as well. We got in-season tournament. They broke it down, gave us some structure here, what exactly is going to be going on. We're going to dive back into some NBA in-season tournament. Also, want to take a look at a comment that a former NBA employee made on social media. If you haven't seen it, well, we're going to tell you about it later, just briefly. And also want to mention Steph Curry. He's been in a lot of conversation over the past week. He was on a podcast and talked about our friend Luka Doncic, and they had some go point guard conversations as well. And we want to talk about those conversations that happened, as well as on the WNBA side, Cathy Englebert made her visit to Denver as we get closer and closer to picking who the expansion teams are going to be in the W for the coming years. And take a look at this ESPN top power rankings recently and see if any teams have some time to climb back up and make up some ground. There are about 2-3 weeks left in the W season, and we'll see what some teams got in this final stretch to make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And when BJ's ready, we'll get on around the association.
I'm ready, Drew. Let's get at it.
Let's do it. Going around the association, starting with this in-season tournament, BJ. Back on this in-season tournament stuff, and they broke it down for us now.
Okay.
And there's a lot going on here. Let's talk about what's going on here.
Okay.
starting off, it's got a little summary here is what I'm looking at. The inaugural in-season tournament will tip off on Friday, November 3rd, and culminate with the championship on Saturday, December 9th. I believe we've mentioned that date before. The semifinals will be Thursday, December 7th, and championship will take place at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. And got some group play action. All 30 teams have been randomly selected and drawn into groups of 5. We've gone through the groups before. If you haven't seen them, oh well, I'm not running through all these groups again. Each team
that's been in an episode. We can see if we can maybe clip that.
Each team will play 4 designated group play games on tournament nights, 1 game each against each opponent in its group, with 2 games at home and 2 on the road. And BJ, there's some knockout rounds in here. And what have you thought about what you've seen so far? They're talking about some pots here, pots 1 through 5, as we know about everything here. The group play, they break it down some more. You gotten a chance to look at this, yeah?
Yeah, and it really is very reminiscent of kind of what you see overseas when you're looking at European soccer. That's what this kind of tournament is designed to remind you of. You take in those leagues, that's actually determining a champion, and then there would be ultimately more champion tournaments essentially that would run at the same time. But those are all built in to be different portions of the year, as opposed to actually a part of the tournament, like of the season itself, like this one is. This is very similar, like what we've talked about in the past with the Commissioner's Cup and the WNBA. And it's just basically it's designed to, they're hoping that it draws, more ratings. I mean, I don't know if it will, Drew, because the NBA does get a lot of good ratings and good people, people watching it. They do get some good numbers as it is already when it's, regular season contests, especially when you talk about the nationally televised games. But they're hoping that this is going to, lead to even more of a, they're hoping that it can generate more revenue. Maybe they can market this as something that the leagues would be, or the networks, I should say, not the leagues, would be, adding more and more money to, as like the exclusive home of the NBA in-season tournament or something like that. And it just, to me, this is a way to keep yourself relevant during the hype of football season. Because, I mean, you're talking about November to December where, football is king. Everybody knows, kind of at that point in the year, there's going to be a lot of people watching the NFL, a lot of people watching college football. This is a way to keep, the NBA talked about and what otherwise would probably be, considered the mundane, boring part of the season, just because there's so many other things going on. And everybody, we always talk about once the football season comes to an end or around Christmas time is when the NBA really starts to, get going and the ratings continue to increase from that point on the rest of the way. This is what they're hoping is going to be, they'll get to this point and stay at this point all season long, as opposed to slowly working their way up to that point.
One thing I think that is good that they did, and it seems strategic at this point, they put the tournament nights on Tuesdays and Fridays. Those are like their big nights, when people are at home watching the NBA. I mean, and I believe Tuesdays are NBA on TNT nights as well. So, I mean, you can't pick a better time to toss in these tournament games. It's probably, honestly, I might have preferred you to pick a different day to see how it did naturally, because you're kind of cheating by using these days that are going to do good. I guess they're going to compare this to, the typical NBA game or, just some numbers they've had in the past. Like, what is the tournament days getting some more views, than what we've got in the past, because it's listed as a tournament night.
And that's a great question, because I mean, it's not really going to feel any different when you're watching on the broadcast. Like if you're watching a WNBA Commissioner's Cup game, other than when they say it at the bottom of the screen as part of the, the graphics package on like CBSSN, for example, you really don't know. It just feels like it's a regular game. you don't know that necessarily what it applies to Commissioner's Cup unless you follow the sport religiously.
And that was exactly what I was leading into the Commissioner's Cup, is the fact that, I've been over there, talked to players in the locker room about things like this. And I've asked them over the years, like, do you get up for a Commissioner's Cup game? There is incentive for the W players for their Commissioner's Cup. When you win it, you get the Commissioner's Cup trophy, and you get, the pay incentives as well. And, the NBA, we've discovered that they're getting incentives as well. Players on the winning team will get $500,000, while runners up will get $200,000. Losing players of the semifinals will each get $100,000, and losing players of the quarterfinals will each get $50,000. So I was saying all this to say, you've asked it on the WNBA side. They don't get up for Commissioner's Cup games. You think NBA players are going to get up for these tournament games? They make plenty of money. Sure, that's a nice little bit of side dollars. That's nice. That's like if you win it, that's a whole G League contract, or more than a G League contract in your pocket. Depending on who you are in the league, and like if you're a rookie or something like that, that might be your money all year. So you might get to double your money on the Commissioner Cup teams.
And that's kind of what
your standard NBA player is not too worried about this money.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of thinking myself, is that it might be more for the young bloods that are in the game. They might be the ones that would be taking it the most serious because of how much money's at stake. But the bench.
Young bloods and young teams.
Yeah, the bench players on these teams that wouldn't normally. I mean, they'll go out there and they'll have competitive, but they may be even more competitive if they're with an increased salary on the line. It's really tough to say, because that I can't imagine that Luka Doncic is going to care more about the NBA Cup than what he's been doing with Slovenia in the off seasons in the past. And so I mean that's my feeling, is that I think that the bona fide stars, or they'll treat it like it's any other regular season game. They probably won't get up for it, but you might see some scrappiness and some more diving for loose balls from the bench players and the reserves in these kind of games than you would in the past.
I don't know. I think it's probably going to be just like the WNBA, and like all players really didn't get up for it, whether you were a superstar or not. Just that it wasn't different at the time. And I think maybe one of the players I asked at the time was Alicia Gray about it. And she's one of the better players in the league. She wasn't an all-star yet, but when I asked her the question, but still a player of Alicia's caliber, a very competent WNBA player, even a couple of years ago, and now an all-star. Been rookie of the year before, always been a two-way player. But even a player like her, who's not the top of the league, is not worried about, playing up for a Commissioner's Cup game. So I don't think your regular NBA player is going to be playing up for a tournament night game, even though they make a decent bit of money if their team wins.
Not until you get to Vegas. I think once you get out of the knockout rounds, everything like that, it may be then, but.
And what's that stuff going to matter if you can do something like that in the playoffs? I mean, if you just have a nice little playoff run as a rookie, that's going to get you more in, deals outside of basketball than that's going to end up for whatever money you're going to win from the little tournament thingy.
Yeah, your incentives and your marketing and everything. Yeah,
right. But nobody's going to play up for these games. I mean, it'll be cool, little pocket side money that a lot of NBA players will probably like blow the weekend of, or something that they get.
Well, as I say, you go.
If I win this, I'm giving it to my son for his college graduation or whatever. Some stuff like that.
You can't tell me that if James Harden isn't in Vegas for the semifinals or the finals, that money that he wins on that Saturday night, if they were winning all of that, most of that's gone before Sunday morning.
Whatever team he's on, anyway.
Yeah,
he's gonna play
exactly.
And there's going to be a most valuable player award for the in-season tournament, as well as an all-tournament team, kind of similar to Commissioner's Cup had an MVP.
Yeah,
I can't remember if they had a tournament team or not. I don't remember. I mean, either way, nobody's going to care about being on the all-tournament team or whatever. I mean, young players will look at it as it'll be a feel-good thing for them. I think it'll help morale and confidence for young players. And, like we've said in a past episode talking about this before, young teams like the Pistons could be one of those scrappy early ones that could just squeeze into a random championship in December and not see anything. And another thing I thought about in the course of, the WNBA and the NBA comparisons of this tournament, because that's where the NBA's idea stems from, is this Commissioner's Cup over here that the W tested out first. It's the fact that on the oh man, don't you hate that when you get right in the middle of it and lose your good thought?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Oh man.
Brain fart.
Yes. Dang. Oh man. Talk for a second, BJ. Let me gather myself. Dang.
Well, I was gonna say the thing about it to me is that I just can't
got
imagine.
it. All right, here we go. See, that's all I needed. The NBA and WNBA, the Aces had talked about when they won it last year, how it was kind of like a motivation thing, gave them confidence that they could go and win it. That was their first championship that they, had in quotations for themselves at the time because the franchise didn't have anything. And, that was just a boost for them and gave them confidence that they could win it and, more motivation, of course. And that might be what's happening for the Liberty going into this season. We'll see, of course, as the season goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, when we get to WNBA talk later in this episode. But maybe that's what happens for an NBA team. Maybe let's just say the Mavericks, man. Let's say the Mavericks are the team that wins this in-season tournament. And Kyrie and Luka hoist that thing up. We're going to be in here like, oh, my God, we're the greatest team ever. Look at us. We can win it all.
I was saying it will definitely
think that too. I want it to brainwash Kyrie and Luka and be like, yeah, this is the first championship of many for the Dallas Mavericks. This is just the halfway trophy.
It will definitely give us some things to talk about, even though it's not necessarily, going to be like what we talk about when we get to the actual NBA playoffs.
But yeah, I think it's going to be one of those igniters for teams like that. I think it would boost a Mavericks team. Would it do much for a Denver Nuggets? Probably not. No. Would it do much for a Milwaukee Buck team? Probably not. Would it do much for the Lakers? Probably not. But a team that hasn't seen a championship in a while or hasn't seen one, period. So let me just – Mavericks were one that's, it's been a while. Grizzlies, if they get it. Pelicans, if they get it. 76ers, if they happen to get
Boston.
it. Boston, if they happen to squeeze one in. A team like the Hawks, just out of nowhere, bring confidence out of Trae Young for the Hawks to actually do what they're supposed to in a season.
Is that what Trae Young said when he said, I'm getting that ring next or whatever? Are they getting rings for the NBA Cup championship?
That is a good question. Do they get rings for that?
No, I wouldn't imagine.
Definitely stick with the trophies. But if any ring, that's the only ring he's going to get. Unless is he getting married or something? Is that what he's talking about? That ring? I don't know.
Could be. I'm not sure.
He needs to. It's not happening in Atlanta. He needs some more help. But anyway, I think it can do that for the NBA, similar as the Aces said it did for them last year winning the Commissioner's Cup. So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting thing for sure, this in-season tournament. And I don't know if we ever broke down the pots and what that pot thing meant and how they were split up. It was based off of last season.
The groups.
Pot one is the teams with the three best prior season records in a conference. Pot 2 is the teams with 4 through 6 best prior season records. Pot 3, 7th through 9th best prior season records. 4th, 10th through 12th. 5th, 13th through 15th. So that's how the pots break down, and there's 5 of those. But it's gonna be interesting, BJ. I guarantee, and we'll see this soon. We'll talk about it once it happens. There's gonna be an NBA reporter that asks the players if anybody plays up for an NBA tournament night, or like does the money move you? What do you think about these in-season tournaments? Does it feel different on tournament night?
Well, the question is, Drew, do they give an honest answer, which is probably not, no, or do they give, if they want the clip, if NBA wants the clip to get out there, yes, of course. So why wouldn't we? I mean, what social media person wouldn't put something that was just positive out there on social medias to share about the league?
You got to strategize. Go find a guy last year that like barely played, or like some rookie this year. They'll give you some cheesy little answer like that. Yeah. Just they want to get rolling in the socials. Hey,
yes, absolutely.
Like, I think it's going to be a great thing for the league. It's very fresh and new, and if they have some knowledge. The WNBA did something similar with the Commissioner's Cup. I think it's going to be very interesting on the NBA side, and I'm excited to see what happens.
That's all you got to say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Certainly
I bet LeBron gets like, it's cool, but I'm really worried about the NBA championship. Yeah. Not exactly like that, but NBA players, the stars aren't going to be like, really trying to
100%.
turn up for this tournament night. Yeah. But anyway, BJ, that's it about our in-season tournament chat. And, players do get a little money if they win it all. And wanted to go ahead and slide to something while we're still in the NBA realm that a former NBA employee somehow still had to log in weeks later of the NBA social.
Yeah, I've got the post right here, in fact, Drew, if we want to share
fire that off. And they decided to be petty. Said, how do I log out of this? Haven't worked here in weeks. Anyway, the NBA overextends its social media employees greatly to the detriment of their health and social lives of a salary of less than $50,000 annually after taxes.
Wow.
I worked 14-hour shifts without breaks at times. Shout out Adam Silver. We don't get health insurance until 90 days on the job. That's silly, isn't it? Glad I resigned. No need for a job to get in the way of your happiness. Donate to mental health causes. Deuces.
So, yeah. Having left a job where I did have social media access in the past, you shouldn't have access like weeks upon weeks if the company knows what they're doing. Like should have been like as soon as you basically said like this is my last day, they'll pretty much start making all the preparations to get you cleared off the books and everything like that.
And that's an HR awareness thing. But like, hey, we got to remember to get this guy logged out of our social medias here. And I don't know if this person's been identified. I'm over here saying this guy. It might be a girl. Who knows?
So I saw that the New York Post did a little digging after the post was quickly deleted within like 20 minutes or so after it was posted. Said that a reported second post touted an ex-employee's new consulting business, which left contact info for a Dean Joanno, I think, which says you find a LinkedIn profile matching the information posted. Joanno worked for the NBA as a digital and social content publisher from March to August of this year.
Oh, wait. I don't know if that'll line up. Well, no, I don't know if that'll line up.
I mean, early in the month of August, and it just happened a couple days.
Last day, maybe like be August 1st or something.
Yeah,
the last payday,
the first couple days of August. Yeah,
but this was
in the.
That was Monday. Well, yeah. I mean, he'd have had to quit like very early August. That's crazy.
I was to say, I thought maybe it had a date, but it's at 20 minutes because it.
Yeah, no, I got a date on mine. I got the front office sports screenshot post.
Yes. Yeah.
They did that at 8:22 on my birthday on Monday.
So that would have been Tuesday on Monday's page. So just in the past couple of days, they 2 weeks later would have been, or 2 weeks ago would have been the second week of August. So
silly people. Yeah, I've definitely been in one where I've operated social media as well and had access continually and chose to give it back. But like, okay, you guys were dumb and forgot to take me off. Let me just delete it. I don't want these notifications. And I've been at one that took them away before they even had the conversation before I left the building to leave.
It also does depend. I mean, this is, in all honesty, the NBA probably got off like much better than they could have been. Like if somebody had that was much worse posting,
could have just had a bag of drafts just to rail off whatever you want. I mean, and they could have been strategic and like scheduled posts or something, something late while everybody's asleep. Like nobody, smart enough is going to see this at the crack of 4:26 in the morning, or whatever, and just do all types of crazy stuff. And I don't know, post DM screenshots. They could have been way more petty than that. They just decided to be the nicest petty they could possibly.
I was going to say that's honestly, like, in terms of what you could have for a hacked post or whatever, this is not, nearly as bad as it could have been. And I think that the message of hey, like, this is terrible working conditions with no health insurance until 3 months on the job. And, you should donate to mental health causes. That's ultimately that could apply to any job. So
NBA's got to be lucky that this person resigned and they didn't fire him, because they would have been more petty than this.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Most definitely, yeah.
In-season tournament? Check. NBA former employee being petty? Check.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to talk about James Harden, but I don't want to talk about him anymore. Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, it's Mamba Day.
birthday recently, and it is currently Mamba Day that we're recording on right now. And it was announced that Kobe's statue is going to be unveiled on February 8th, 2024 this year, before the NBA All-Star break.
I love it. That's a wonderful. I mean, I know that it takes some time to get all of that taken care of, but this feels like it. 4 years after we lost him, seems like it took way too long. I know that COVID probably slowed things down in terms of getting a statue made or designed and everything like that. But yeah, this is great news, Drew. This is fantastic news.
Who do you think will have the nicest Lakers statue outside of Crypto.com? We've got a Kareem statue. Feel free to Google these pictures.
Yeah,
we have a Kareem statue. There is a Magic statue. There is a Shaq statue. Part of me wants to say there's a Worthy, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
There is a Worthy?
I'm pretty sure, yes.
Okay, if not, there's a Jerry West, I believe. So there's at least 4 statues already there.
Yeah, so it's got Elgin Baylor, Shaq, Kareem, Magic, Jerry West, and then the 6th is broadcaster Chick Hearn, who has a special place in a lot of LA fans' hearts for all of his years of service as broadcaster for the Lakers. Okay. So I'm looking at these statues, trying to see if this one will not be so blurry. It really depends on what the Kobe statue ends up looking like.
I know.
But right now, my favorite's got to be the Shaq one. That was, that's very nice, and it's a newer one. I'm pretty sure.
You got to think, people hold Kobe as the greatest Laker. I don't know where it necessarily stands among the Laker organization, but you got to think that. A guy that's held in that regard has got to have one of the better statues. It's either got to rival Shaq's or it's got to absolutely destroy it, because
I think it will be.
It's hard to destroy it because Shaq's is incredible.
Yeah, it really, like you said, it depends on what they end up doing. You've got Kareem getting ready to skyhook as his his statue.
Patented things for players. Mm-hmm. Imagine it's Jerry's dribble or something like that.
Yes,
Shaq's dunk. Kareem's, hook, like you said, and I'm not sure what Magic's probably a pass or that his dribble.
Magic's got the ball in one hand and the arm, like not in a Heisman pose, but almost
like
very
this.
reminiscent. Yeah.
Okay. Is it like our thumbnail?
Let's see here.
I think it is. But with Kobe, what would his be? Would his be like him driving with the basketball? Is it a fadeaway?
I think it would be. I think it would have to be a
fadeaway.
Yeah.
But for a fadeaway, I mean, what is it going to look like? Dirk's statue then? If it's a fadeaway, then
because it wouldn't have him off of one foot. What I've got here. This is a picture that Basketball Forever made a few years ago.
And which Kobe do you think is going to be on the statue? Young Kobe, 8 or 24?
I think it would be 24, Drew.
24.
If I had to guess.
I think a better statue though would be 8. His reverse dunk picture that was posted for his birthday yesterday.
Yeah,
I think that would be a nice statue, and I mean that's probably the only way you leap past the Shaq dunking statue.
I think you're right. I think that would have to be if they do that. But I
don't know how you would make it though. That'd be interesting. It'd probably have to be it'd be made like Dirk's with Kobe sitting on an isolated thing with the goal, right? But that would be tough. I don't know, but it's going to be an incredible statue.
Absolutely, yeah. I was to say the one they've got right now has both of his tippy toes pointed down, but his heels up, and him fading away, shooting like that. I obviously don't do it justice, but
it's all right.
We can act it out with charades or something like that.
Let's slide on over to Steph Curry here. Steph Curry's been talking a whole lot over the past week, and it's just because they invited him on a podcast. Not like he's just been randomly saying these things. He was invited on a podcast. They asked him questions.
He's got to say something on a podcast.
Yeah, he answered them. He's just answering them nicely. And one of the things, and I guess we'll get to this one first because it's a shorter conversation than this other one. But Steph Curry talked about our man Luka Doncic recently, and let's see what he had to say.
You know, the ones that are going to be on the stage every playoff run, trying to, you know, win the championship and, you know, chasing MVPs and All-Stars and All-NBA teams and all that. Luka's like the guy, obviously, that's right on the precipice of accomplishing all those accolades and just, you know, what he's about as a player. And that threshold of, like, how do you just crack through? I hope it's not now. But, it's like, when you play against him, like, you can feel it. And so, yeah, I mean, there's
high praise from Steph Curry that, you know, and we all know this, Luka's on the cusp of doing everything, getting it all.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's kind of it's like the build-up that LeBron had. You knew it was coming. The chosen one had joined the league, and he was showing you his stuff in his early years. And then he took his team to the finals. Luka hasn't taken his team to the finals. Luka took his team to the conference finals, and that might be the igniter that we need to truly unlock Luka like it was LeBron.
Yeah.
And Curry knows that Luka's right there on the cusp of reaching those things. Met him in the conference finals. Knew how much of a problem that was. Probably doesn't want to play him again.
No.
Yeah, because, I mean, Luka, ever since he stepped in the playoffs, is putting 30 points a game, 30-point triple-doubles on the likes of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and those boys who can play defense. Curry don't want that switch.
He don't want the smoke.
Now we have Kyrie too. He knows what that's like in the finals. He don't want that switch either. He don't want to see the Mavericks in the playoffs. But giving a lot of praise to Luka here. We know he's on the cusp of reaching, you know, everything, the MVPs, the accolades, the finals MVPs, the championships, and all that. And what do you make of Curry's comments on Luka here?
Well, I mean, it's amazing to me to think about because it just doesn't feel like Steph Curry's been in the league as long as he has. He's 15 seasons now, Drew, or he's about to enter his 15th season.
Yeah.
And it really just put things in perspective. You know, when Curry entered the league, you know, Kobe and like you said, LeBron were the ones that reigned supreme. LeBron had yet to win a title, but that was about to change. But you know, you had Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan that were still, you know, considered up there and you know, battling things out for which player was the best in the league at that time. And then all of a sudden here, you know, a couple of years later, Curry is, you know, throwing up all these volume threes. And we've gotten, you know, in Curry's career, the span of two different generations at this point. You know, even in that series that when, you know, Steph and the Warriors handled the Mavericks in that Western Conference Finals, you know, Doncic, like you said, he was averaging almost a triple-double. He had 32 a game in that 5-game set with 9 boards and 6 assists just in that 5-game span. So I think he's ready. I think we've been, you know, kind of talking about this for a while now. And obviously we do have a little bit of a bias because, you know, he's our guy. He's our superstar. No, we have to be honest about it. But, you know, I feel like he is somebody that the rest of the league is, you know, can acknowledge that he's ready. He's going to be that, you know, that next step up and he's going to be the next generation and one of, if not the face of the league here, you know, in the next 3 to 5 years, because I mean, how much longer are we going to have LeBron James, Steph Curry dominating the league? Kevin Durant isn't going to be, you know, playing basketball for too much longer. We got to really appreciate this generation. Because you know their best days, you know, not to say they can't still have great performances, but their best days are starting to get behind them as opposed to still ahead of them.
Yeah, the Don Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I like that, the nickname.
I love to hear guys like Curry talking nice about Luka, knowing that he's really the next one up for real. And you know, I really think it's that type of progression here, and we're getting to that point where, you know, it's about to be breakthrough time. You know, we've seen a conference finals. We need to see more now. Yeah. And, you know, he's ready for it. He's got Kyrie back. You know, we're trying to retool. So things are exciting on the Dallas side of things. But Luka was not the only person that Curry was talking about. recently in a podcast, and he was asked another question, or a question, actually. I don't even remember what his question was in regards to Luka. I just saw the answer. But he was asked a question about the greatest point guard of all time conversation.
Are you the best point guard ever?
Yes. I have to, yes. It's me and Magic? Is that the conversation?
Yeah. Like it just, because as we can look at stats all day, right? We can look at stats and try to judge. I wasn't around with Magic.
Me either.
I know, right? So
I have so much respect.
I know there's not a lot of 6'9" point guard. No one's trying. I'm thinking about the '90s growing up. There was nobody trying to be a 6'9" point guard, right? I mean, it just. But I can witness and watch every kid trying to be Curry. You know what I mean? So it's like the influence that you really have on the game from the position as a player. I look at the stats and say, okay, Magic then Curry. When I look at the kids and I watch AAU, it's like, nah.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously.
A little bit different of a circumstance for Mr. Curry here. I mean, Curry is everything these days. I mean, you put out a little bit more Magic film. Let's just say there were some throwback games on a constant rotation. Let's just say there's an NBA history channel. That would be awesome. Think about it now. If that ever comes out, I know there's an NBA history Twitter, but if y'all make a channel for it and y'all rotate old classic games, cut me a check.
That's what they should be doing during the non-playing season. They should, when they're not showing WNBA games, they should be showing NBA history games. And I know they do sometimes, but not as often as they should be.
But, Curry, I mean, he's just one of those influential guys that's just going to be around. I don't think influence – makes you greatest point guard of all time necessarily. I mean, he does have an incredible influence. People want to be like Curry. People want to shoot from half court. People want to shoot those crazy shots and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, that's what basketball is. It's getting buckets. And I mean, Magic got some buckets, but he dished some dimes too. I mean, he was one of the best passers to ever play this game. And I mean, just was a dominant player himself. And I mean, when you look at Curry and Magic, I don't think it's about, outside influence that really kind of pushes one over the other. I mean, you do have to look at numbers at some point here and what they did, because, I mean, that's the biggest body of work here.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. Your championships, your all-NBAs, your all-star teams, what your numbers were like as a scorer and a play, like what your actual statistics really were. Like, those are always factored in.
And thanks to our friends at StatHead, we can have a comparison with Steph Curry to Magic Johnson. Magic just has obviously played more games. That's going to change as long as Steph Curry plays in 25 games this year. He'll pass Magic Johnson for career total games. Curry averages more points per game, but Magic has more total rebounds, more assists, more steals, more blocks, a better field goal percentage. Now, Curry obviously better three-point percentage, better free throw percentage, better EFG percentage, but you've got Magic that is better with BPM and VORP. You've got a Magic who has one more championship than Curry. Magic has 5 more first-team All-NBAs and 1 more All-NBA selections than Curry does. You have 1 more MVP than Steph, 2 more Finals MVPs, and 3 more All-Stars. So, there's, like you said, Drew, you've got it up there on the screen for us. It's, Curry still has a chance to get up there and accomplish some of those things, but it's still Magic. And a lot of people feel that way. And I don't think that they're necessarily wrong to feel that way. And if you do feel that Magic is, the GOAT, then, the best point guard ever. I mean, Gilbert Arenas, and I don't think it was in the same podcast with Steph Curry, but he also said then, you're giving more argument to LeBron being up there as the greatest player of all time.
That's another thing that ran through my head when this conversation came up. I was just like, what are we doing here with this one? And how do we let the LeBron and Jordan stuff slide the way the Curry Magic thing is going right now? Because that's backwards. Because it's backwards right now. Like, whoa. If we're pumping the brakes and doing this like this, saying, it's Curry, even though it may actually not be, then what does LeBron get shut down so effectively for? Hold up. These these comparisons they're not doing the same thing here.
Yeah.
They're not doing
And
the same thing.
I think what's ultimately funniest about all of this, Drew, is that Michael Jordan,
he chimed in on it.
Yeah, he said that Magic's the greatest point guard of all time, which would then maybe give logic to the thought of LeBron being better than Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
that's what's funny about it all.
It is hilarious. I almost want to pull up Jordan LeBron just because we're talking about it now. But we don't want to do that today. We'll be here for a while. But the conversations are always a little bit different when you're talking like specific position players who are the best at their position. Because it's more often talked about GOATs than, just the best, whatever at each position. And I wonder how much harder the conversation would be if like, okay, don't give me the best point guards of all time. Don't give me the best small forwards of all time. Give me the best guards of all time. And how do you mix up that batch of point guards and shooting guards? When does Magic pop in there? When do players like D Wade pop in? And is anybody between Kobe and Jordan? And how do those things stack up? That is a curious conversation I want to have one day, and maybe we can have an episode about it. Ranking the all-time guards, not just shooting and point guards individually, but together, how they rank up.
It would definitely be interesting because I mean, it would be one of those conversations that you wouldn't have a LeBron in there because he's always been a forward.
Right.
So.
And we talked about how close these the games were. I think you said you needed 25 more to have more games played.
Yes.
Than Magic. And that's just another thing. In one of the comments I saw, just about when somebody had this comparison up on Twitter, it just said like people just forget how much Magic did and like how good he was and the stats that he put up in only 906 games and like you
remember
seasons or how just barely
remember how much time he missed because of the HIV that he had to step away from the game for a while because of that.
Yeah, so I mean,
took away some years from his prime that he could have done even more and added more to it. I mean, what he did in such a short span of time, and Curry still hasn't accomplished some of those numbers.
12 seasons worth. So he played from age 20 to 31, and then was for 4 years with HIV illness, and then came back for that final year, and started 9 games out of just 32 in the 95-96 season. So just 11 and a half seasons of work.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't sleep on Magic anymore. It's one of those things that Magic's got to get some more love on a day-to-day basis. To be honest with you, I mean, like,
agreed.
He's got to sniff some more GOAT conversations. I mean, he's not really he's not in it, but
I mean, there's a reason why he comes up in the top 10 for a lot of people.
If any point guards being put in GOAT, it's got to be Magic.
Yeah.
It's got to be Magic, and it's just crazy when you and I haven't sit back and looked at his numbers in a long time, and it's just crazy. Like every single year, I mean, aside from last year, he came back, of course, and his second season in the league where he missed half the season, he was an all-star every single year.
Yeah,
every single year. There are very few players that have been all-stars like perennial throughout their entire career. We have LeBron's. We have Tamika Catchings's. Well, I mean, the WNBA is a little different. They had the gap years because of the Olympics and stuff like that. But, people like Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, and, guys like that. And Isaiah Thomas as well as one of those people that's perennial all-star every year but one. Yeah. And it's such a body of work in 11 and a half seasons. Well, I mean, absolutely. That half season at age 21, I mean, it's really 11 seasons in total.
Yeah.
You got 2 half seasons and then 10 total seasons.
Yeah.
11 seasons worth of work. And he did all that.
Absolutely.
5 chips, 3 MVPs, 3 finals MVPs. Just Curry, come on now. Give some more respect to Magic. He obviously hasn't looked into it in a long time and just realized, like, man, I got 4 rings now. I broke all these little 3-point records. Yeah, I'm the best. Everybody trying to dribble like Curry, shoot like Curry, but I didn't sit back and think about how just how freaking good Magic Johnson was.
Yeah.
And I'm with MJ on this one. I don't know if I'm with him with his own GOAT conversation. I'm sorry. I'm on the battling end with LeBron on this one. But when he's talking about Magic being the greatest of all time at point guard, man, I mean, I'm with him. I'm with him. I mean, Curry. I mean, he's one of the best to ever do it. And I mean, he's certainly up there in a top 3.
How about this? He's the greatest in our era. He's not the greatest all time, but he's the greatest in our era and many of the other eras outside of the era that Magic Johnson played in. He would be had that span of 12 seasons, 10 full and 2 halves, not happen for Magic Johnson, there'd be no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, because, for one, there's not any other point guards that got MVPs in this era besides Steve Nash.
Yeah.
And Steve Nash got no championships.
No.
So, he doesn't really get to battle for that in that regard in this era.
No.
So, most of the best point guards all time have got a chip.
You got, Jason Kidd up there because of what he did assist-wise, but he wasn't, he wasn't the Magic. He wasn't putting up points and he was more facilitating and allowing other opportunities for his teammates. And John Stockton the same way. But no, it's Magic, Steph, and I don't know the conversation.
I don't know how many other point guards have as many championships as those two do anyway. Who else, aside from their normal accolades, have the championships to go along with it?
Maybe the early Boston teams point guard or the 80s.
You got to have a significant name to come to me with. MVPs wise, you just don't have a lot of point guards who have garnished some MVP awards. Perennial MVPs or even like a couple of time MVPs that have that many championships. Just thinking of players that you hold in that high regard. Isaiah Thomas, I guess. He's got 2. He didn't have any MVPs though. 2 championships. No
quick answer for you. This is from our friends over at StatHead.
No, you can't.
Casey Jones has the most career championships by point guard. He won 8. Bob Cousy had 6 with the early Celtics teams.
Okay. Cousy, Cousy had 6. He never won an MVP though, did he?
Yeah, I don't believe so. No.
Yeah. So, people. That's what I'm trying to say though. Like there are some players like a Cousy and some older folks that have championships like that as point guards, but they don't have MVPs.
Steve Kerr.
Somebody's got one or the other. Steve Kerr ain't have no MVPs.
No, I know.
And he was like a 6-man type player.
Yeah.
So
Derek
there's nobody
Fisher?
that really matches that resume from top to bottom with championships and MVPs.
No.
So,
and Parker only had 4.
About Derek Fisher. Nobody wants to hear his name in here. We're gonna get in trouble for even speaking Derek Fisher in here.
Tony Parker also had 4 rings, by the way, but nobody
no championship, no MVPs, no MVPs.
Yeah.
I think he's got a final. Does he have a finals MVP?
I don't think so.
No, he didn't squeeze one. Okay.
Thought Duncan had them all.
Okay. Yeah, see, so it's really it really is down to those two, and Curry's he's got a little bit of work to do. He probably, in a way, you got to hate to hear that when you're a guy like Steph Curry and at this level with this type of influence around the world and where you are status-wise, what you can still do on the court and the confidence in yourself, but you gotta realize who Magic Johnson was, man. Like he was that dude. Showtime. Is there a Showtime Lakers without Magic Johnson?
No.
And show some respect. The Showtime.
Gotta show some respect.
And he's the greatest point guard of all time. I extended this a little long again. I'm so sorry. This is going to be a long around the association, but these conversations have been too good. It's just been too good, and this is what happens when you miss time like this.
This is what we were hoping for a bonus episode, is that we could get through all this. But
you get all the content in one episode, guys.
Hey, it's okay.
It's okay.
You're getting your money's worth. You don't have to pay a single thing, and you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah, and it's time for BJ's best now, baby.
That's right, Drew. And we got high school football that kicks off this week for you and I, at least. But last week, in fact, the state of Ohio kicked their season off. There were some high school football games that were, that actually count as opposed to just the scrimmages like we saw here last week for both of us. That
I had some official games last week.
You did?
Yeah, my Saturday one was a real game.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know. I thought the I couldn't remember if that was a official tally game or not. But
Well, some teams were, some teams weren't. But like we've only got 9 regular season games, so like we don't play a single November game. Like our regular season will be over for a couple weeks before that.
Yeah, I was just saying that's it. It really, I think it depends on where you are across the country. You start a little early and get it all done, so you're playing the playoffs before Thanksgiving. The state championship is determined by then. But down in Texas, you play 10 regular season, and then it's another 6-week stretch of playoffs until the state championship's determined, and that'll take you almost to Christmas. It'll be like the week before, or maybe 2 weeks before at the earliest. Because of the way that the schedule lines up. In fact, I mean, looking at, right now, I go 11 weeks from now because you got 10 games plus a bye. That takes you to the first Friday in November, which would be the 3rd. And then 6 weeks after that would be December the 15th would be that Friday. So you would have about 10 days or so before Christmas that everything would be, wrapped up. But just kind of the preparations this year, Drew. Is what we're really going to talk about. So I have, I've got a new team this year. I know that you and I are in that boat, and this is the first for me because I am used to working with a coach that I tried to see if he wanted to record something that we could play in the pregame show before during the week of and everything like that, and that wasn't something that we could ever get figured out, but got it figured out for this one, for this new school that I'm working with. And you have done pregame interviews before, have you not, Drew?
All the time, every year.
All the time. And what would you say is the longest interview that you've had with a coach in the pregame show before?
I don't know. Greg Owens used to draw those bad boys out with his coach talk. Like it'd be so useless information after a while. And just like he's just going on for us. So probably about 8-9 minutes.
Ooh, all right. So just 8 or 9 minutes?
See, I knew you were gonna blow me out of the water, but yeah, because I try not to even do a pregame that long because I've got a lot of content in my pregame in general, and we got ads to roll out. So I try not to go above that. I mean,
I try not to as well. I had just a couple questions that I wanted answered, and I posed it and let him roll with it. And so there's one question that I asked that I didn't have written down, and it was one that is definitely a factor because of how hot things have been. It's been, feels like it's been triple digits for, like ever, even though it's only been maybe, a couple weeks at most since we didn't have a high that top triple digits. I asked them kind of, the preparations and everything like that, if there was any thought that, there might be, pushing the game back or anything like that. That wasn't one that I had originally planned on. I asked him that, kind of before the show, before the interview began, like off the record. And he said, I don't have a problem talking about it on the record. So why don't you ask me? And so I did, and no big deal. But the couple questions I had, it's about 20-minute interview, Drew.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I gotta cut it down and everything like that, and add a couple things. But I might be starting pregame up just a smidge early this week because of that. Just so, but I mean, and the thing about it is that like there wasn't anything that I didn't feel shouldn't be, in the interview. I mean, everything that he talks about is relevant. Yeah, he got lots of good info. And with this being the first game of the year, I think it is okay to have it a little bit longer because there's more to talk about. You haven't had, it like on a week by week basis, if they're continuously 20 minutes, that might be a problem. But just talking about the team itself in general and everything like that, and some of the faces that he's rolling out there in the starting rotation and everything like that is what really does take up the good majority of that.
Is there anything you can cut and use for another week or like another part of the show that you could like? And another thing Coach said earlier this week that we didn't play in our pregame was this, and it's it's holding true for the Falcons or whatever Fournier's name was.
Yeah,
Holding
Jack
true
Rabbits.
for Fournier right now in today's game.
Yeah, and by the way, that was the first time that I'd mentioned that. I am going to be working with Fournier this year. I haven't.
That's not the first time you mentioned it. You told me like 2 weeks ago.
I meant on the show itself.
Okay.
I just hadn't said it before. Every time I tried to find like the right words and find the time to write something up, it just was something that either I had to do something else or I just didn't have the right words. So I'm thinking at this point, tomorrow, it's game day, and just kind of announce it with a game day post as opposed to kind of a post, saying otherwise.
You can figure something out right now. And we can clip this.
That's not a bad idea. Let's not. I'm not ready for the spotlight.
It's like, oh, there it is.
I'm camera shy, Drew. I'm gonna have to go hide now. No, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I asked him, the last question I asked him is about the rivalry that excuse me, that Fournier and Crandall have and how, it hasn't been played until the last few years, it hadn't been played in so long. And then it got played because they were district foes and that continued, even though they're not district foes anymore. And he did talk about that. And that's probably something I could clip, but I feel like that's a good way to end the interview and everything like that. I don't necessarily know there's really anything that could be saved for, later on in the broadcast or anything like that. What I'm thinking is that we'll shorten up the span of, like, once we do the introduction and everything, we'll go to a break, we'll have the interview, let it play in its entirety. And then by that point, it'll be time to get through the lineups and, the coin toss, both teams will run out and we're ready for football at that point. I think that's, for this week, at least we can make that work out pretty well, but I'm excited. It was a good interview. A lot of good stuff was said, and a couple things that I'm excited for people to hear that I won't say myself. I'll let Coach say them because he revealed some interesting stuff in terms of going forward, what might be looking forward to not just this season but next year and beyond. It's going to be pretty interesting to see. The future is bright, and I think this is going to be a really good year.
You're certainly going to get more wins at that field than I did.
Well, I hope so. I'm currently winless just like you. This whole season.
You want to say it like that?
Well, I was to say I had a baseball broadcast there that the team I was working with lost. I was a neutral observer, but working with a broadcast in quotes because it was a playoff game. And the team that I was essentially working for, even though I wasn't their broadcaster, was working with NFHS. That team lost. That was a basketball game. Yeah. And then the only other football game that I called there when I was still working with Crandall was a loss. So I'm 0-3.
Ooh.
Yeah, gotta get that figured out, man.
Pain.
Yeah,
Same.
I know you're 0-2, but
0-2 in football, 0-1 at the baseball fields.
Yeah, I've got a loss in each of the sports, the three main sports. I don't know if that's better or worse.
Well, I got a playoff loss. That hurt a little more. So
yeah, I've got a playoff loss in the season.
The first loss was just embarrassing. We were a bad team, and we got absolutely obliterated by an equally bad team, and they picked us off 4 times. Should have picked us off 6. Should have.
The first loss for me was just a triple overtime bonkers thriller kind of game. That would be. Yeah, if you were on the losing effort, it'd be a heartbreak.
That was a crazy game. Listen,
it was.
Man, I'll tell you what.
What?
I'm not gonna tell you anything.
Well, couldn't think of a better way to end BJ's best than with I don't know what to tell you.
There you go. Well, I do know what to tell you about BJ.
What's that, Drew?
TeePublic, Fanatics, and SeatGeek. But I'm gonna only talk about TeePublic right now. Tell you to shop with our partners. It is sale time with our people at TeePublic. Man, oh man, $16 t-shirts, 35% off site-wide. You can't ask for more than that, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're looking to get your fix of sports and that morning coffee in the morning. I needed my coffee this morning. I didn't get much sleep last night, and you might need it too. Make your way over to TeePublic and take advantage of the sale. Snag a mug with a Lowdown logo on it by shopping at the link in our description below, and get yourself hooked up with a Lowdown mug.
That's right, Drew. And also, I mean, you were talking about wanting to drink some coffee. I had a long day, a long night yesterday with having to deal with some internet issues. Thankfully, those were resolved in time for the show. But I was, a couple days ago, Drew, it was your birthday. Let's go. Turn up for what? And so I had offered my man Drew something special for his 28th birthday. At the time, he said, I'm going to pass, but we may revisit that here, in the upcoming days. I offered to buy him something special from Fanatics for his 28th birthday. And he told me just to hold on to my money for now. But if you want to honor man Drew, why don't you go get yourself something from Fanatics? They've just launched, Drew. In fact, the last couple days, yesterday and today, you've got some some footwear from Under Armour that is NCAA and sideline knit headwear NFL themed. I know it feels like it's impossible to say that you want to get something warm as hot as it's been out there, but maybe that's not your brand. They've got some other things launching here in the next week. Be on the lookout for that. But it's a new season. It's time for some new gear at Fanatics. There's all kinds of deals going on. If you are a Fanatics MVP, you get all kinds of weekly deals that us peasants don't normally get. So be on the lookout for that. It's fanatics.com. It's officially licensed everything. And now, as we find out every week from my man over there to my left, what is on Drew's mind?
All right, BJ, what's on Drew's mind this week? It's pretty simple. It's First Take's new duo.
Oh.
ESPN's First Take got a new duo over there, BJ, and this is what I was looking into before the episode got kicked off here today. And specifically, the new duo at First Take is, Stephen A. is there.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen A. is there.
Yes.
Shannon Sharpe has now joined First Take, the voluptuous voice of Shannon Sharpe, if that's the right word for it. Probably not. The boisterous,
right. Loud. What are you trying? What? Yeah, loud and voluminous, maybe.
Excited? No, I can't find the word. I don't know what word I'm looking for. But
look it up in the
Shannon Sharpe and
source.
his awesomeness. There we go. Let's just grab something like that.
There you go.
He's headed over to First Take to join Stephen A. Smith.
That is interesting.
So the most goofy and unexpected or unpredictable, I should say, upcoming duo on ESPN.
Can we?
Stephen A. might be predictable at this point. Who knows what Shannon's going to do?
Can we just call rebrand it instead of First Take? It just said we don't want to work with Skip anymore.
Call it Skip Sexes.
Skip Sexes. There you go. I like
Skip
that.
Sexes getting together. I mean,
well, I hadn't heard the news.
To get together.
I hadn't heard the news about that, Drew. I knew that Shannon had agreed to continue working with Colin Cowherd and his podcast network, but I didn't know that he was going to play for the other team, if you will, going from FS1 to ESPN.
Just dropped earlier today, and they had somebody made I guess ESPN made a graphic. They edited the D Wade and LeBron iconic photo of the toss back dunk and LeBron cocking it back with Shannon on LeBron's head and Stephen A. on D Wade. So that's
there's a picture I wanted to see. It was that one
to see it. Yeah. But what was shocking me earlier, BJ, was the difference in how long each of these guys were with Skip Bayless, because these numbers, it didn't seem like it was this when I was thinking about it before. Yeah. The duo of Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless that we know from like the end of our high school years, was only together for about 4 years.
I didn't think it was that long, actually.
You didn't think it was that long?
I mean, I knew it was. I didn't think it was in the grand scheme of things. Like, I knew it was about a handful of years, but I didn't think it was more than 4 or 5 at most. I didn't think it was that long.
Yeah, it was 4 years with the duo of Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless before Skip left for Fox Sports 1 and started Undisputed.
Mhm.
And that span was from 2012 to 16, BJ. So
That's what I thought. I thought it was our last high school years, and because I remember seeing we were talking before the show about the Johnny Manziel documentary, and I remember seeing First Take with Skip and Stephen A. talking about Johnny Manziel.
yeah, I used to watch First Take all the time back then. And what had me, and I guess it's just because time's been going by faster or something lately, BJ, that just had me kind of puzzled. Shannon and Skip were together for longer. They were together nearly 7 years, BJ.
Yeah.
Skip and Stephen A. only together for 4. Shannon and Skip almost 7. If they'd have made it another year, they'd have nearly doubled what Stephen A. and Skip did the first time. Which it didn't seem like it had been 7 years for Shannon on Fox over here. It just, time is just kind of getting away from me. I guess it totally doesn't feel like 7 years. I stopped watching a long time ago. Granted, just because I got tired of Skip. I couldn't do the Skip thing, whether it was on First Take or whether it was the Undisputed. I loved Shannon, but I could only watch it for so long to where until Skip started doing some Skip things. And I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I used to be a religious watcher of those shows. Wake up and watch, First Take, catch the Herd just before lunch and things like that all the time. Back when the Herd had Christine Leahy when she was on there. And I cut the run off, shortly after Shannon and Skip had kind of became together. First Take wasn't the same. Didn't want to watch that anymore. Undisputed wasn't my cup of tea. And I can't believe it has been 7 years with those two, or nearly 7 years of them working together. I didn't think it was it was such a difference. I felt like Stephen A. and Skip were together for a little bit longer than that, and Shannon and Skip not together near as long. But time just flying by me, man. But it's all about the new duo at First Take, man. It's going to be some wild shows. You're going to see so many clips from these guys. Like, oh, man. Stephen A's got some iconic clips over the years, from his young days to his First Take days to now. Yeah. And Shannon's got some, of course, from his playing days, and so many since he's been on Undisputed. And with that BoJack Horseman head, I see that so many times with him just flexing on. It's hilarious. And these two together, first of all, I wonder what Shannon's bag is looking like coming into ESPN. That's one thing I don't know, is what his paycheck is looking like. But I know it has got to be fat.
Yeah,
that's bring in so much content and so much extra viewership. People that were with him at Fox Sports are coming over to ESPN now and are going to be watching him there, along with what ESPN had watching with First Take already. So, man, I'm just I don't know. I might watch it again for a little bit. I just want to see what it's like with them together. I mean, I know at some point some things are going to go off the rails. They will butt heads at some point. It is going to happen. And I'm interested to see how long they last together. BJ, do you think that this duo makes it longer than either of them made it with Skip? Do you see them into 2030?
No.
Oh
no, I don't see them that long. This is a question to me, like what you had asked about what's the bag for Shannon. I know that there was a lot of focus, on what was paid to Pat McAfee to bring him in, and he's starting up his show here in a couple weeks. Is that about the same time when Shannon and Stephen A. are doing their show? Is that about September the 8th-ish, around there?
I actually don't know exactly when that's going to debut, but it should be somewhere around there. Well, I didn't look for the date. I was just, noticing the duo and, what I'm going to be expecting with First Take. I didn't check to see the start date, but I'm pretty sure that's about when First Take gets kicked off, is like right around when football season kind of does.
Let's see here. It looks like its first day is going to be September 4th, so a couple days before. So it's the same week. It's right after, right around Labor Day.
Monday, the day after everybody's drafting for fantasy football,
or the day that some of us are drafting.
Football. Are you drafting that day?
I've got a draft on the 4th. I've got one on. Let's see, one this week Saturday and one on the 4th. So.
But yeah, man, it should be an interesting duo. I don't know if I'll end up being a regular watcher again of First Take. It's a very interesting little debate show. I mean, and sometimes you outgrow things, but I do want to see them in what they bring as a duo together. I think their first show will be a good one, and just and what they'll be able to create. I know, like I said, I know I'll see clips and content of them all the time, so I basically won't even need to watch the show all the time. It'll watch me, find me somehow, some way. But that's what's on Drew's mind today, the new First Take duo. How long will they last together? How good will their show be, their chemistry? Interested to see this new First Take duo, Shannon and Steve.
And what I was going to say is that they paid a lot of money to McAfee, and there were a lot of layoffs as a result of that. But what they don't say is how much of that was going to Shannon Sharp, because I don't think anybody really saw that coming.
Yeah. I low-key thought Shannon was going to rock it solo, because Club Shay Shay on YouTube was rocking it. I mean, he honestly probably didn't even need to do the First Take thing. That's why I definitely think he's getting a real bag to do this, because they had to offer him some real cash to be able to get back into a seat like that again. I mean, it's done a lot for him over the years, and has given him a platform to be able to create Club Shay Shay. Because I mean, if he'd have done that straight out of football, I don't know if it'd have been as successful. And he's not as widely known as he is more so now. I think his status is probably at least doubled from what he just had as an NFL player to being a guy on TV. Because I mean,
when he went from being a pregame, postgame voice on one of the network NFL shows to being with FS1 and Skip all the time.
Man,
right?
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I don't know what he was doing before.
I thought he was. I can look real quick
because I was not as deep into it. I was watching certain things, but I know. I mean, everybody's a part of something. Whether they're just like a temporary analyst, like on Monday Night Football, NFL Countdown. A lot of people have slid into. So I'm sure some small role like that happened before he joined Undisputed and didn't just come in there cold turkey.
Yeah, he was part of the NFL Today for a long time, and then almost 10 years, and then they took him off of the NFL Today and replaced him with Tony Gonzalez, and that's the
thing. I don't watch NBA TV and NFL Network and stuff, and that's where those shows happen.
Yeah,
that
was on CBS.
Oh, that was on CBS.
Yeah, but just before the NFL broadcasts on Sundays. I know he was part of that, with Bill Cowher and James Brown.
I didn't see him on anything before. Maybe that's I didn't do a whole lot.
It's been almost 10 years since he was
big
on
Fox
there.
guy, NBC and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't see Shannon Sharp before that, but I wish I would have. I mean, obviously meant for TV. And we'll see what two of the biggest mouths and faces in sports are like on First Take together.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. And what's also interesting is the WNBA, BJ and Cathy Englebert had an interesting little visit over to Denver, Colorado.
That's right.
I should have checked our past episode to double check on where we ended up on with what East team and what West team we thought we were going to have slide into the WNBA fold. I think Denver was one of those. I think West
so.
Team.
I'm pretty sure
Denver was our West team, because we were talking about things that made sense in comparison to Denver just off their championship. We needed one East, one West. That made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think we were pretty much in agreement. Yeah, Denver and Toronto.
Toronto on the other side for the East. That just makes sense with the Canada game this year, how good it was. You need an East and a West, and that's an East team. And there you go. It seems like you're winning right there. Things like Austin were a long shot, Tennessee, things like that. Portland would have been it's just not the right time. You got a guy that wants to lead, your superstar wants to lead your city, and you're kind of rebuilding a love for basketball around there. I don't know if it's the right time to bring in a team that probably won't do well. Bay Area was one that we were close with. I don't think we ended up with Bay Area. It was either Bay Area or Denver for us, and I think we finalized with Denver and Toronto. So I think Cathy watched our episode and decided to catch a flight out to Denver and go see for herself, BJ, because she was doing that last week when we were recording this podcast, and she was out in Denver, and reports were coming out about her visiting down there, and traction seems to be moving along for this expansion thing.
Yeah, it looks like it. She met with investors and toured potential facilities for the expansion team potentially. said that they're still looking to expand here in the next few years. Although, we've been saying that it feels like almost all the time that we've been doing this podcast, which is now almost 4 years removed from the start date.
But the thing that's different here for me is like it's a lot more public than it was that anything's been in the past. A lot of things been like, oh yeah, we're working on our list. We've got a lot of people that we're talking to, blah blah blah, and things like that. She makes one visit to Denver, and it was extremely public. She had I think she had a little presser with people outside of some building in Denver. It might have been on a rooftop somewhere, if I remember the pictures correctly. But it wasn't a secret. So things seem to be in a real positive direction if it's that public of an event happening in Denver like that. So. I imagine some things we're going to be seeing about Toronto here pretty soon. They might have already been in the works from the moment the Canada game was done, because that was just so well received. It just makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I was going to say the timeline of this. We go back to when we were first talking about it. I know we talked about it for a long time, but we had a report last June that the league had narrowed down the list of cities from about 10 to 12, and they were hoping that they can announce some expansion teams by the end of 2022 that could be playing as soon as next season. That target went, and there was no progress on that. So it would be that they couldn't join until 2025 at the earliest. And then February of this year, she said the league was not in a rush and expansion was still 2 to 4 years away, which, like Drew, we said that was the case back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's just kind of been conflicting because, we talked about it just a few weeks ago. I'm pretty sure that, they were working very hard on expansion and that they'd like to get it done because they want to expand the number of roster spots. And this is the biggest step in that direction to this point that we've seen is that, I don't believe she's made trips to any of the other 20 cities that were mentioned at least back in June, or I should say May, which is double almost what she said about a year prior. And so it feels like Denver's got an early advantage or a leg up at least in terms of whatever their package was that they had to impress her with. She was out there and met in person as opposed to, if you want this to be done and not to be drawing a whole lot of attention to it, there's meetings that you can do over the phone and virtually and everything like that. But she took the time and went to the site to kind of tour it as opposed to, just kind of hearing about it all over the phone or anywhere else. I feel like that means that Denver has got to be, if not the favorite for the next team, they've got to be on a very, very short list. Not 10 or 20 like it's been said, but 3 or 4.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know it's narrowed down to just the nitty gritty at this point. And I was wrong. She was visiting Denver on Wednesday, but we couldn't talk about it Thursday because we had Coach Burton on. But she plans to tour some potential facilities as they continue to vie for new teams. I wonder which team is next. Do you think? I wonder if the order of teams that she visits kind of has any signification on the priority of which they want to get some teams. So like if Toronto's next, you should just be like, hey Cathy, no need to visit anywhere else. Looks like you got your 2 East and West teams. You're good to go.
Yeah. And I think it just depends on if they are content going to 14 or if there's plans that those will be the first 2 and then they may go to 16, another year or 2 later. Yeah. She can still kind of vie and get the viability of those areas to see what could be in store.
When it comes to those teams, if she does go Denver, Toronto, a visit to a couple of more cities is probably just like, well, and it would probably only happen if like there was something that happened in the Denver meeting or the Toronto meeting that just wasn't perfect to where, okay, let's hear what these other guys have to say. And if they're perfect, we might go this way. Or if, we go visit this other city, like this situation might be perfect and we'll go to this city. We'll try Toronto in a couple of years or something. We'll keep playing Canada games until we can actually lock down the city or whatever. So I don't know. It may mean something. It may mean nothing. The order, it could be just random. Maybe it could just be when people are available. She might be in Austin, this week for all we know, which, I don't encourage no Austin team, but I'm hoping if she's narrowed it down to 4 places, I'm hoping the West teams are, she's already got Denver. I hope the other one's the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
And on the East side, it's got to be Toronto and Philly.
Yeah.
So, she could, if she goes her next 3, it goes Philly, Bay Area, then Toronto. I'm not sure what the correlation is at that point, but we know what we've got it mostly narrowed down to, and we'll see what's on the agenda next for her WNBA City expansion tour here that she's going on.
It could be like Taylor Swift's tour, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't know if she's gonna be paying as much on her tours.
No.
To shut out a lot of money. The investment team that Cathy went and visited, I don't remember if you said the names for the team.
I don't think I did. No.
Okay, so it includes Robert Cohen, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of IMA Financial Group, Naveen Diamond, CEO and co-founder of Stonebridge Companies, if I'm saying that name properly, a hospitality and hotel development company, and his daughter, Ashley Diamond, who works as Stonebridge's Director of Strategy, the source said. Cohen and the Diamonds declined to comment for the story that I'm checking out right now. Bill Hanslick, a former Denver Nugget and founder of the youth sports organization Gold Crown Foundation, said he has been involved with the investors as a potential nonprofit partner. He told the Post that he did not know specific details, but that the WNBA will want to know how potential investors plan to participate in charities in their communities. And this is from the Denver Post.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see, and
it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to watch and see how that goes. Let's take a look at this recent Power Rankings poll here, BJ, as we try to round out the WNBA segment and the last couple of things we got to talk about here, because I got one more specific question to you after this.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen the recent Power Rankings poll. There's a new number 1. The Liberty have overtaken the Aces on the poll here for the first time, and the Aces have been number 1 all season long, and now it is the Libs, and we've had some other shifts going around as well, and some teams bumping down and some others bumping up. And for example, we talk about Liberty taking over at 1, Vegas at 2. Dallas Wings have bumped to 3 and swapped with the Sun, moved them down to 4.
Yep.
Atlanta has bumped up from 7 to 5, and they're at 500. Well, at 500 when this Power Rankings came out. I think they're, let me check.
16, 17.
They're one under now. Yeah, they just got dominated by Asia's 53-point game. Recently. So yeah, they're in a bad way. And the Sparks went up a little bit. They're on a 5-game winning streak right now. They went from 8th in the rankings on here to 6th. And Minnesota Lynx in this ranking were 7th, previously at 5. And they have won recently, and they're 16 and 17 now. They were 15 and 17 when this came out. And the final one on this ranking at the time, Washington Mystics in the 8th spot. They used to be at the 6th spot. So, BJ, when you take a look at this, so I imagine you have this pulled up yourself and taking a look at the rankings. We got 3 teams that are locked in for the playoffs right now. That's Vegas, that's New York, that's Connecticut. Yeah. We got 4 through 8 spots remaining, and we got at least 6 teams that are competing for these 5 remaining spots, maybe 7, depending on if Seattle could just turn something on. Probably not, but 6 teams vying for 5 spots, and you see how it's shaking out right now. Do you see any teams that can really make a boost in these standings and even burst into the top 3? I mean, you can have as something you could even bring up, or you could say Dallas into the top 3 by the end of the season, and I'd listen to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the really. I don't know. I don't see. With Dallas having some success, they got the win over Connecticut. Like we talked about them really needing here in the past week or so. They're still Drew. They're still 5 games back of the Sun for that third spot. So it's going to be tough in the last 7 games to make up a deficit of 5 games to jump up in that spot into that third spot. So for especially when it doesn't help when you're losing games against a Lynx team that's still fighting and then that playoffs position, they're tied for 5th right now, just 2 games back of Dallas. But if you're wanting to be a top 3 seed, you really got to win those kinds of games, even on the road in close, tough environments, like the Aces would, like the Liberty will, like the Sun have. It's something that you've got to do if you want to be able to put yourself in that position. And so I think in terms of the power rankings, you can see some rise and fall still, but I think in terms of standings, I think what we got right now, the top 3, they might be some shakeups in how that all looks. If there's still time for the Liberty, if the Aces get really cold all of a sudden down the stretch, and the Liberty continue to play red hot as they have been to catch up and maybe even pass them. But I think the top 3 are going to be the top 3 when we get to the postseason in some semblance of order in there.
Yeah. And when I say move up, I don't mean necessarily move up in the power rankings, but in the standings for the season in general. But, if there's a team that I could pick that I think can still move up in these last few weeks, they're 33 games in. They got 7 more to go. I think the Mystics can. They've had trouble throughout the course of the season. They went from the OG Coach Tebow to his son. They've had injuries all year long throughout the roster. Natasha Cloud has been injured and out for some different blocks of time in the season. Elena Deladon has been out for a really long time with the hip injury. She was recently a game time decision. I can't remember if she played yesterday or not. Shakira Austin was out for a good amount of time as well. Ariel Atkins has missed a fair amount of time as well. The only one in the starting lineup that hasn't missed any time that started in the first game of the season was Brittany Sykes that I know of. I mean, I'd have to check and see if she's actually missed any games, but everybody else around her has been hurt for more like a few games at least at some point throughout this season. I think it's probably been a handful for at least everybody. And EDD and Shakira Austin were out for both at least a month, I want to say.
Yeah.
For a minimum a few weeks for Austin. So I think it's been, a longer for EDD, unfortunately. But
yeah, she just came back last Friday, and then she left with the hip injury, and she didn't play yesterday.
She's been out with an ankle, I believe, majority of the year, and now it's hip. So, I mean, it stinks to see things like that with a player that when she is healthy, she is one of the best to ever play this game.
Yeah.
But, health has just been hampering her ever since she won her championship in 2019. So
she's a couple weeks away from celebrating her 34th birthday. So I mean, it's been a rough year though for her injury wise.
And those Mystics, I mean, and that's the only thing that the Mystics have really been missing throughout the course of the year is a bill of health. Because I mean, they've coming into the year, they were built like a team that was going to give you problems all year long, and they haven't been able to gel together and be healthy enough to be that team. And we'll just see what they can put together here in this stretch of games to finish the season. And due to those injuries and not being together all the time when they travel, they're 5-11 on the road, and that's really kind of what's hurting their team so far.
Yeah.
But I still think they got some time. Players are healthier. Shakira Austin's back out there now. Natasha Cloud has been playing recently. I think Atkins is back out there. If not, she's going to be soon, and just kind of hoping for EDD to be ready. If I'm the Mystics, I hold out EDD until the playoffs. I mean, at this point, maybe depending on how on the fringe your season is. If she's healthy enough, she's like, okay, you need me so we can actually make the playoffs. Okay, you got to do what you got to do. But part of me wants to sit her anyway, just so you have her just in case. And even if you don't, let's say you miss the playoffs, I mean, you get to draft somebody really good next year, or you can be one of those sneaky teams that is a 7 or an 8, that really gives trouble to the Aces and the Liberty, scares them in the first round and does something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I've got faith in the Mystics, if they can just get healthy, and that's what it's about. And that's usually the team that wins the championship at the end of the season, which, I mean, the Mystics really aren't healthy right now, so you can mostly count them out unless you can see a healthy EDD for a number of games in a row. You just got to kind of rule out the Mystics, but I think they can climb a little bit. With all of that being said, I think they can climb a little bit. I've got this underlying faith in the Mystics because they've got a perimeter that can be so elite defensively while healthy. I mean, 2 first teamers in Cloud and Atkins, and I mean 3 technically in Sykes. So, I mean, it's just a first team defensive perimeter that's just. I want it to be healthy so bad because I just want to see it defend.
And you'll look even smarter preseason for what you said about them if they'd been able to stay healthy.
Yeah. So, maybe they can do some surprising and do some run here in the last bit and do something in the playoffs. That's kind of crazy or something. Who knows? But that's the team I think could do a little bit of a rise here. If I had to pick a team that I think is going to disappoint you in fall right now, BJ, because I'm looking at this team and I just want to talk about them now.
Yeah.
It's the Sparks. I think the Sparks it's just going to be one of those times for the Sparks again. I mean, they're on a 5-game win streak right now. They have been pretty underwhelming all year. I mean, ahead of this, they were 9-18. A 5-game win streak out of nowhere.
It's just one of those things that you look at, like, how did that happen? Especially when they went in and won at Vegas and ended their home winning streak last weekend. You look at their schedule; they've got a couple of tough road games still to go that might snap their streak with this weekend with Atlanta tomorrow and Connecticut on Sunday. But if they get through that, they've got Chicago, Seattle, and the Mystics all at home before 3 games on the road at Connecticut, at New York, at Seattle. I mean, there's a couple losses there, but they're not necessarily out of it just yet. It really just depends on what happens around them. They take care of business in the games that they're kind of expected to, and especially if they can beat both Seattle and Chicago in those 3 games that they've got, and maybe even the Washington, they can win at least 4 of their last 7, then they should be in good shape, or 4 of their last 8, I should say.
I just don't have faith in the Sparks. I think they're just going to disappoint you at the end of the day. But that's the way things are going to shake out. I think for this round out of the season, we got a couple of more weeks left in the WNBA season. Usually we're in the playoffs by now.
Yeah,
it's a little uncharacteristic. And BJ, you remember preseason when I asked you about those how many teams could get 30 wins this year? I mean, there's still a chance for the Liberty to get in there. Connecticut would have to win out to make it 3 teams to get 30 wins, but.
That was the question. Was more than 2, right?
Yeah. I think I said. Oh, I don't remember. Did I say 2 or more?
I think I said 2.
I might have said. Do you think more than one team can get 30 or more wins this season? And I don't think anybody was believing that 2 teams would get it. Everybody, I think most people were thinking, Aces would get it, but I thought Liberty have a real chance, and they legitimately do. Right now, so they've just got to win 5
of their last 8.
5 of their last 8, and if they've won 8 out of their last 10, so it is possible. It is possible.
Yeah, and I was going to say they should be considered a favorite in every game they've got going forward.
Yeah, probably so. We'll see how it goes. We might have 2 teams with 30 wins this season. You never know. But Mystics could be risers, and I'm expecting the Sparks to be fallers. And this last question before we get to with it or quit it, BJ. I know it's a long episode. I know. I just need to know if you could pay to see one player. If you could pay to see one player play, there we go, from any era in the WNBA, who would it be?
Yeah, I was thinking about this question, Drew, and it's tough to for me at least because we've had so many greats here in the past few years that we could see, but for me, going back and seeing Cheryl Swoops and those original OG Houston Comets, I think would be what you have to like. I think that's probably without a doubt, one of those that we were, too young at that time. We really didn't know what we would have been seeing had we seen it anyway. So if we went back and how we are now and we're able to see it, I think that would be one that you definitely want to pay money to see, that those Comets teams from back in the day when they were winning 4 in a row to start the league off, terrorizing the league.
Yep.
So,
I'm glad you picked a throwback player, a retired player, because I'm going to be doing the same thing. I think you might know where I'm going, BJ. Where am I going?
You got a couple options.
My GOAT.
Yeah.
Who is it? You don't know my GOAT, BJ?
No, I'm not saying that. LeBron? I'm joking. I'm joking.
Tamika Catchings. I see Tamika Catchings, the greatest defender to ever touch a hardwood floor, play some basketball. I was 2 years shy of watching her play for a season, like in real life, like getting to go to the games. I didn't show up until 2018. Shame on me. But just I would love to get to like sit courtside, watch Tamika play, and just be at the game. Just that fiery defense, give you a bucket on offense. Just that ultimate two-way player. And, like I said, the best defender to ever touch a hardwood 5-time defensive player of the year. I mean, that's just all-time lockdown, just domination, man. And I've seen a lot of Candace Parker, and I wish I would have seen some more in her younger days, but it's got to be Tamika for me. I didn't get to see that live. I've seen Candace live. Yeah. And, just Tamika live just would have been man,
been the icing on the cake.
Dynamic player, and if I wasn't so just infatuated with Tamika and her game, secondary, the honorable mention to this answer is Maya Moore for sure. Yes, for sure. I got 100%. One measly season of Maya Moore, and that was post championship. So I didn't get to see I didn't get to see enough, and had I known that a break from the W was coming, I would have appreciated 2018 so much more, and just watched all the games, just like anytime she was on the screen. Link's coming to Dallas. All right, I'm coming to that one. I've got $3, but I'm on the way.
Yeah.
So those are.
It's tough to know what you have at that time until it's gone.
Yeah, tell me about it. And without further ado, it's time for some With It or Quit It. I got 5 questions for you, BJ, and I got some good questions.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Let's go ahead and get into it. You know how this game is played.
I know how it'll work.
Number 1. Starry, the new lemon lime soda. I'm sure you're familiar with it or heard of it.
Yes.
Is a better soda than Sierra Mist was. With it or quit it?
No, quit it.
No,
I love Sierra Mist. I tasted Starry and it didn't feel right. I mean, maybe it's not that much different, but I don't know. Maybe it tastes a little bit more artificial to me.
Wow. I think it's better. I think it's a cross between Sierra Mist and Sprite. I think it's right in the middle is what Starry is.
Maybe I should give it another try then.
Give it another try, BJ. Okay. Give it some more love.
I have to give it.
Because I have had I go to this Taco Bell in South Dakota up the road about 45 minutes, and sometimes I've gotten a Starry that is stunk from there, but I've gotten really good Starry from there too. So I mean, it's sometimes just about the people there and like if they change that Starry box or not. You got a good fresh thing of Starry. Get you, I don't know, go grab you a bottle from the convenience store and give it a more reliable chance.
Okay.
Number 2. If you could go back in time, BJ, I'm time traveling, back in time, you'd have gotten contacts instead of glasses. With it or quit it?
I mean, I think it was one of those things that, I've had glasses for so long, like over 20 years now. And since I had to get glasses when I was a kid, I don't know if I was responsible enough at that time to appreciate trying to have contacts. What I might have done, is like when I was in high school or whatnot, I might have tried to make it work, but I'm going to say quit it. I've gotten used to the glasses over the years. And I mean, the only thing that I, at this point, would really consider is if I had the money for it, I'd try to do the LASIK surgery as opposed to, wearing the glasses. But I feel like it's not me. If like I take my glasses off, it doesn't feel right to see me on
because
screen.
you wear them all the time, and we're not used to this now. But if you made it a normal thing and got used to your life without glasses, then it would probably look fine.
Yeah.
Number 3, the LA Sparks that we were just talking about, BJ. They missed the playoffs. With it or quit it?
Well, I mean, let me look. They're right there on the outside, or right on that 8th spot, if I'm not mistaken. Right now,
Yep, you
Drew.
talked about their games that they got.
They've got some tough games coming up for sure. I'm not saying
ones.
that they don't, but I'll go 3 for 3. I don't know. I think they can beat Chicago. I think they can beat the Storm twice. And I think that may just be what it takes. They got a game and a half advantage over the Sky right now. If they win that last matchup head to head, it may just be enough to keep them, in that last spot and give them the last little edge. So I'm going 3 for 3 with the quit it so far.
Oh, brother is quitting it everywhere, man. Oh man.
I'm gonna
Hope
keep
you
them in
don't
the
quit it
playoffs.
on this next one. I'll be unhappy. I just can't. I don't want to say that. I want you to choose your own answer here, BJ. you like what I'm about to question you on here. And then
Right.
Number 4, you like this sport, the NFL. You like you some football, big football guy. NFL games should not, I repeat, should not be played on Christmas Day. NBA only is how it should be, like it has always been in the past. With it or quit it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with it because I was gonna say I saw a really interesting.
Stay on Thanksgiving football. Get away from us.
I was to say I saw a really interesting video of why they don't play on Christmas, and it talked about it from a historical perspective, and that Thanksgiving ended up being the day, and now they've always had like maybe a 1 or 2 if Christmas was on a Sunday and it was like a marquee event, but it was not like a full like competing with the NBA type of deal in terms of like they got I think 3 games this year, Drew. They've got multiple games competing against the NBA slate, and I'm not a fan of it. I mean, Christmas isn't on a Sunday as far as I know, Drew. So it really let's see it. Oh no, yeah, it's a Monday. So 3 games on a Monday as opposed to like if you're going to do Monday Night Football like marquee special game. 1 game, I can understand that, but
yeah, I'd be okay with that. And like when Christmas falls on a Thursday or something, things like that. But fill in our basketball. They're not even gaps. We don't have gaps in our NBA Christmas Day. It's 1 game to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, to the next one.
On the same channel all day long.
Yeah. Well, no, we there's there's ABC games.
That's
and
right.
ESPN.
That's right.
Yeah, they transition later in the day, I believe. But
that's right.
Yeah, I mean it's supposed to be Christmas with NBA games, not NFL games. It needs to be split up. NFL on Thanksgiving, NBA on Christmas. We're happy with it. That's what we like. That's what we want to keep. And that's what we want forever. all the smartest people in the world are going to be watching NBA games throughout the day. I mean, that's what we're used to. We don't want to turn on any stinking football. And it's good the Cowboys aren't playing on Christmas because I don't want to watch you lose on 2 different holidays.
They gonna lose on both those games, Drew?
They would. It's very Cowboys fashion to lose on important times.
They won Thanksgiving last year, didn't they?
Playoffs, Thanksgiving, when you need to make the playoffs.
They won on Thanksgiving, didn't they, last year?
Huh?
Didn't they win on Thanksgiving last year?
I don't remember.
I can't either.
I don't like us. Was it the Vikings game?
No. Well, that was...
No, we did not win. No, we did not.
No?
No. Hold on. I'm going to go back.
No, we did. We were playing the Giants. We won.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay, we did win. Okay, I'm thinking of 2021. 2021 was disgusting. Yeah, we got the Raiders OT that year. Okay, but yeah, we beat the sorry Giants last year. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, but yeah, keep the NFL games on Thanksgiving only after this year because it's already set, but I'm not watching. Anyway, to number 5, our final question, and with it or quit it here today. I want to see it. Okay, here it goes. You, BJ, are not the type of person to walk around without a case on your phone. With it or quit it.
Got my phone right here, and it has a case on it, Drew. I am 100% with it. In fact, I've got an old phone that doesn't work. It has a case on it still. It doesn't, one of those things that I don't drop it, or I'm not somebody that drops it, but stuff happens. You don't want to take the risk that something's going to happen. And, I even if I know it fell on the back of his case, I still will pick it up and check it out, because it's like, damn, I hope it didn't, crack my phone or make the screen all look all weird and everything like that. So yeah, I'm absolutely a person that walks around with a case on my
Those
phone.
iPhones are slick. You can drop those at any time.
Drop them off the roof, they might be okay.
Yeah, I got a grip with my cover on this. Oh, BJ, that's with it or quit it.
And that's the show, Drew.
And that's the long stinking show, BJ. Oh, this might be the longest around the association. I feel like every time we get to this point, we're like, this is the longest episode that we've done, and it's always off by like 2 or 3 minutes or something like that. We're somewhere in the vicinity of that right now. This is one of those. Yeah. But we might be able to say this is the longest around the association. It wasn't meant to be, but we ended up talking about curry and goats and stuff for a long time.
Yeah. It was a good conversation, at least.
It was indeed. It always ends up being good. It just ends up being really long.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the episode, ladies and gents. I appreciate you hanging out with us this long and listening to everything we were going around the association with and playing with us, of course. Make sure you guys, and I've messed up the last 2 or 3 episodes forgetting to do this on the front end, like I've been putting it right here in front of my face to do. Make sure y'all follow us on social media. Follow us on X. Twitter over at _Lowdown. That's THA_Lowdown over on X. Twitter.
Don't dead name it, Drew. You have to say X.
X. Go follow us over on X and follow the Lowdown Network over on X as well at Lowdown Network _. Make sure y'all go give us a follow and check out the other shows when they go live during the week, whenever that is sometimes. Golf's supposed to be coming back on Monday with a new episode. CBB hopefully next week on Wednesday, and a new show.
Maybe.
Coming to the fold, ladies and gentlemen. You got to follow us on social media so you can figure out what it is. I don't want to spoil it here.
No.
Go follow us at the Lowdown Network _ and go check out what the news is. You can see a teaser already if you go over there and you follow us right now. So there's plenty of stuff in store. Just get ready to hit that follow button on somebody new here pretty soon. So that's all I'm going to say about that. New episodes coming out. We'll have a guest here again in a couple of weeks, most likely, as we round out the WNBA season. But that's it for this episode of the Lowdown Sports Show. We will catch you again